Before my sister wed, she insisted I join her at the Marquis. The heir will need a concubine, and I'd rather it be you. Sharing a husband would be a lovely tale. I refused, wanting only to be a commoner's first wife. My sister calmly said if I refused, fine. But on the wedding day, I was knocked out and sold to a filthy brothel.
My lady orders, since you're ungrateful and refuse to be a concubine, then be a common whore for all to use.
Abused to death, I woke up on the day my sister chose me as her dowry companion. Would you be willing to marry into the Marquis's household with me? The heir will surely take concubines in the future, and I would rather it be you. We sisters, serving the same husband together, would be quite the story. Seeing her usual fake intimacy, I felt a sudden chill. Hearing those long unheard words again, I gritted my teeth in hatred after the endless torment I endured in the brothel. My scars are permanent. To survive, I ate filth, begged for mercy, and was traded like a dog, forced to smile just to stay alive. Hatred for Jiang Jin was my only obsession, yet I died, while she stayed the Jiang heiress and the heir's legitimate wife. I hated her until I trembled, nearly showing my malice as I dug my fingers into my thigh. I lowered my eyes. Although my body was already nearly numb, the sharp pain assured me that I was not dreaming. Seeing my silence, Jiang Jin smiled. If you're unwilling, it's fine. I was just joking, sister. She looked magnanimous. I steadied myself, but my heart trembled. In my past life, I believed her and refused, saying I only wished to marry an ordinary man as his main wife. Jiang Jin was momentarily stunned, then smiled and said, if you don't want to, then just forget it. She didn't look angry at all. Instead, the other stepmothers glared at me resentfully, thinking I was simply ungrateful. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking the matter was settled. To make up for it, I even busied myself helping Jiang Jin with the details of her wedding. But unexpectedly, on the day of his wedding, I was knocked unconscious and sold into the filthiest. The servants in the manor took a few taels of silver from the madam and looked at me with utter contempt.
The lady ordered, since you're ungrateful and refuse to be a noble concubine, be a lowly wife for everyone to trample.
My nightmare began. After endless suffering, I died in that brothel. In my final moments, I heard old Ma mutter, better to have been a concubine and lorded it over the wife. Given a second chance, as Jiang Jin scrutinized me, I smirked. Since you've planned this, I won't refuse. I'll leave it to you, sister. Jiang Jin gave a hollow, satisfied smile. If it were in my previous life, I might not have noticed, but now I understand. She's clearly displeased. If I agree, she'll be unhappy. If I don't, she'll be furious out of embarrassment. My sister is a controlling perfectionist who insists on keeping everything under her command. This led her to suggest we both enter the Marquis's household together. Yet when I resisted, she feared my looks would outshine hers and win the heir over. She is timid and calculating, always thinking she has everything under control. But she probably never imagined that the heir already had someone he loved. And this time, I'll ensure she loses everything. This life is much like the last. Though I entered the Marquis's house with Jiang Jin, I still had no wedding ceremony. When my stepmother brought up my dowry, Jiang Jin just said, a concubine's daughter marrying needs no fuss. My stepmother nodded at Jiang Jin approvingly. Jiner, you are so wise. If she ever misbehaves in the future, punish her accordingly. Without the Jiang family and me, you are nothing. The two of them spoke right in front of me, without the slightest attempt to hide it. I listened humbly, not showing even a hint of resentment. My birth mother died long ago. Without my stepmother's fake kindness, I wouldn't have survived here. Only I know that despite my glamorous status, I've suffered much from Jiang Jin in secret. She is the Jiang family's prized daughter, a master of all the arts and a model of virtue. Since childhood, she has been showered with affection, protected by her elder brother, favored by her father, and especially pampered by her mother. Yet she is so graceful that noble daughters emulate her. In her past life, she married the Marquis's heir, Zhou Rong, with mutual respect. Meanwhile, I was in a brothel, suffering for survival. Before dying, I heard the heir favored a new concubine over Jiang Jin. But I knew very well that with Jiang Jin's temperament, she would never tolerate another woman. In my eyes, any useless servant or object is beneath me. Now that I have a second chance at life, I'll make sure she sees exactly how it feels to be trampled underfoot by someone she considers lowly. As before, some of Jiang Jin's pre-wedding chores were assigned to me. According to Jiang Jin, even the clumsy servants couldn't handle things as properly as I, her younger sister, could. Everyone believes we are the closest of sisters, but only I know the truth. After being reborn again and again, Jiang Jin would casually say, I never expected you to be this capable. How chilling does that sound? Using the excuse of helping Jiang Jin prepare her things, I left the residence many times. Even though my previous life in that brothel was worse than death, I still managed to gather quite a bit of information. The most talked about topic among them was the young lord's favoritism toward his concubine. It was said that she was merely the daughter of a hunter, who, by a twist of fate, saved the young lord's eyesight. From that moment on, the young lord's heart belonged to her. Unfortunately, bound by his parents' will and the matchmaker's arrangements, the young lord could not defy the Marquis's command. He could only marry Jiang Jin in secret from the other woman, and less than 2 months after the wedding, he brought her into the residence. But that young lady was not someone to be trifled with. She actually managed to make the young lord slap Jiang Jin in public. The people of the capital treated it as a joke, thinking that the young lady was finished. But in the end, that woman actually lived quite well. Not only that, she was the first to become pregnant. It's said that this was also her bargaining chip to enter the Marquis's residence. Judging by the timing, that woman surnamed Li must already be pregnant by now. As soon as I returned to the residence, Jiang Jin's personal attendant, Chu Juan, hurried over and dragged me to Jiang Jin's room. When I arrived, Jiang Jin was doing her hair and makeup at the mirror. She ignored me, leaving me standing there. I stood until my legs went numb before she finally turned. She saw me and feigned surprise. "Oh, when did you get here, little sister? Why are you just standing there without saying anything?" Was I so absorbed in looking at myself that I didn't even notice you? It wasn't that she didn't notice me. She was clearly using this as an excuse to humiliate me. I forced down the hatred in my heart and treated her just as I always did. "Sister, what are you saying? I'm the one who disturbed you." Jiang Jin stared at me for a long time, then suddenly let out a cold laugh. "Go on, tell me. What have you been up to these past 2 days outside the residence?" I appeared uneasy on the surface, but in my heart I understood all too well. Jiang Jin's need for control was astonishingly strong. She's not foolish. On the contrary, she's extremely clever. That's why she noticed my unusual behavior. But I had already prepared an excuse. "Sister, I went out to help you buy some things." I looked up at her timidly, my every movement carefully hiding my guilt. Jiang Jin looked at me with a contemptuous gaze. "Jiang Ying, you've always been an obedient girl. That's the only reason you're allowed to stay by my side. Do you understand?" Staying by her side. This was what Jiang Jin always said whenever she tried to intimidate me. She deliberately encouraged my dependence on her, making me open my heart to her, making me believe she was truly my good sister with whom I could share everything. In reality, it was just a way for her to expose my weaknesses so she could easily crush my life whenever she pleased. I pursed my lips and, pretending to be casual, acted coquettishly. "Sister, I was wrong. I just happened to hear some interesting gossip, so I've been going out these days to find out more." Sure enough, Jiang Jin took the bait. "What did you hear?" I finally said. "Lately, I've been so excited about the marriage that I can't sleep. Worried I'd fail you, I went to the clinic for medicine. There, I heard the doctor was called for a secret visit to a young lord's house." What I said was a mix of truth and fabrication. It's true that I went to get medicine. These days, I keep dreaming of the tragic scenes from my previous life. The memories of being humiliated are vivid, and I can't forget the smug look on Jiang Jin's face. As for the doctor mentioning a private residence, since it's a private home, how could she be so sure it belonged to a young lord? There are only 2 young lords in the capital. One is already married, and the other is Zhou Rong. Jiang Jin's hand recoiled slightly, her brows furrowing as if she was calculating something. I knew she was already suspicious. "Go and find out who's hiding in that house." Jiang Jin pondered for a moment, then had someone reward me with 2 taels of silver. I accepted the order with a smile. After deliberately stalling for a few days, I finally acted hesitant and reported what I had found to Jiang Jin. "I heard that person is supposedly a canary Zhou Rong keeps hidden among the common folk, and she's even pregnant with his child." Jiang Jin was so furious that she accidentally smashed her teacup on the floor. At this point, there were less than 3 days left before her wedding to Zhou Rong. "Get out!" Jiang Jin rarely lost her cool. A smashed teacup showed her rage. From the hall, I heard her hiss. "If she loves being a mistress, keep her in the dark forever." I was just about to keep eavesdropping when, unexpectedly, Chu Huan pushed open the door and came out. When she saw me, she looked a bit surprised, but her face remained expressionless as she grabbed my hand and led me toward the back hill. "You said that on purpose, didn't you? You knew about it all along." With just a few short sentences, Chu Huan seemed to see right through me. "He knows? What about her?" As if she could see right through my worries, Chu Huan let out a cold snort. "She doesn't know. Someone as arrogant as her would never expect you to scheme against her." As dusk fell, I could barely make out the look in Chu Huan's eyes. In my memory, she has always been Jiang Jin's most reliable weapon, and of course, the one who understands Jiang Jin best. "Second miss, I guess what you want to do is the same as what I want. Why don't we join forces?" I didn't rush to deny it, nor did I agree right away. That night, when I woke up terrified from another nightmare, I suddenly remembered what Chu Huan had said. Jiang Jin wanted Chu Huan to serve her with absolute loyalty, so she married off Chu Huan's only younger sister to the family's coachman. Chu Huan had met the man. He was honest and simple, his family was harmonious, and he was truly grateful to Jiang Jin, but she was wrong, terribly wrong. The coachman was just putting on an act. Behind the scenes, he was addicted to gambling and often beat his wife. Chu Huan's younger sister was timid by nature and never dared to tell her older sister about her troubles. It wasn't until her sister died that Chu Huan finally learned the truth. She had thought that she and Jiang Jin had simply misjudged the man, but she never expected that their mistress had known the truth from the very beginning. Looking back on everything, I finally saw it clearly. Jiang Jin's cruelty had long been etched into her very bones. After that, I was never able to sleep again. At dawn, after tending to Jiang Jin, I accompanied her to the jewelry shop. She looked through everything but found nothing to her liking. In the end, her gaze settled on me. Jiang Ying, do you know where that private residence is? Jiang Jin couldn't hold back. I know, otherwise in my previous life I wouldn't have been knocked out and dragged into a brothel right after the wedding ceremony. In fact, in my previous life, Jiang Jin once came to visit me. It's truly hard to imagine that someone as noble and elegant as Jiang Jin would ever set foot in such a lowly brothel. I still remember, when she saw me lying on the ground, unable to live or die, she frowned and covered her nose and mouth, showing undisguised contempt. You really have a tough life. If you had just gone along with what I wanted back then, you wouldn't have to suffer like this now. If it weren't for the fact that just that day, the previous client had whipped my flesh to shreds with a steel whip, I would have wanted to get up and drag her down with me. She really seemed to be there just to watch the show. But after she left, one guest after another came into my room, and without exception, they were all perverse and cruel in their actions. The festering wounds on my body never healed. They festered, bred maggots, and stank, accompanying me for half my life until I grew weary of them. Coming back to my senses, I listened to Jiang Jin's obviously anxious words. I lowered my head, my lashes hiding the smile in my eyes. You know. How could I not know, sister? I deliberately timed everything perfectly, predicting Jiang Jin's reaction so that she couldn't call off the engagement, but still had time to go looking for trouble. The residence Zhou Rong prepared for Li Qingge was both easy and difficult to find. The surroundings were elegant, and there were a few neighboring households, so it didn't feel deserted. The courtyard gate was wide open, and you could see the swing under the tree inside. At a glance, it was clear that the owner of this house had put a lot of thought into it. Chu Huan and I exchanged a glance, then both looked at Jiang Jin. Sure enough, Jiang Jin's face was frighteningly dark. Just as she was about to step inside, someone from within came out. When she saw us, the stewardess's expression changed. Who are you? She asked. Jiang Jin shot the woman a half-smile, half-glare, then shoved her aside and barged straight in. This was my first time seeing the rumored favored concubine, Li Qingge. She was nothing like I had imagined. Rumor had it she was the daughter of a hunter, wild and unruly, but as I looked her over carefully, she actually resembled a woman from the misty south of the Yangtze, gentle and charming, yet not fragile, as resilient as reeds. But when she opened her mouth, I was rather surprised. Judging by your bearing, you must be the daughter of some prominent family. How could you stoop to forcibly occupying someone else's home? She spoke without the slightest hint of politeness, looking Jiang Jin up and down. The way you're acting, it's as if you've come to catch someone in the act. Could it be that you are the legitimate eldest daughter of the Jiang family? Li Qingge seemed to have heard of him and didn't shy away. You know it's normal for men to have many wives. I just met the heir first, so why get so hung up about it? Jiang Jin was trembling, her features twisted with anger. She struggled to suppress her rage. You truly have no sense of shame. Shame? What use do I have for shame? That's something only people like you, who pride yourselves on your noble status, care about. For people like us who struggle just to survive, how could we possibly afford to worry about such things? Jiang Jin's brows were clouded with gloom. The look she cast at Li Qingge was filled with contempt and disdain, but even more so with a jealousy she herself hadn't realized. Li Qingge was impervious to both persuasion and threats, and Jiang Jin was definitely not the type to resort to violence in broad daylight. As the stalemate dragged on, I noticed Li Qingge's gaze linger on me for a moment before she smiled and looked away. Don't think I won't kill you. For the first time, Jiang Jin bared her fangs. Li Qingge smiled and said, You know very well that I am now carrying the heir's child. If I die, you won't be able to set foot in the Marquis's residence either. You've been plotting to become the lady of the Marquis's household for a long time, haven't you? Are you really willing to give that up? Just let it all fall apart like this? As it turned out, Jiang Jin couldn't bear to let it go. As they were leaving, the Jiang family's carriage ran right into Zhou Rong. Zhou Rong's expression changed dramatically, but when he saw that Jiang Jin didn't react, he hurriedly rushed into the courtyard. Jiang Jin was momentarily stunned. I knew he understood that the open door was left for Zhou Rong. The carriage hadn't gone far when faint sounds could be heard from behind. Your fiancé came looking for you. See what trouble you've stirred up. Qing, I was wrong. Ow, 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 be gentle. I don't like her. I will protect you. The two of them were flirting and bickering, sounding deeply affectionate. A flash of malice crossed Jiang Jin's face, gone in an instant, her palm digging so hard it turned red. But when she got off the carriage, her face returned to its usual, dignified elegance, all emotions completely hidden. Once back in the inner room, Jiang Jin glanced at Chu Huan and me. Do you think the heir would break off the engagement for her? Chu Huan and I exchanged a glance. Sister, that woman comes from a humble background. The Marquis' household would never accept her. As long as you secure your position as the main wife of the Marquis's household, a mere concubine is hardly worth worrying about. Jiang Jin stared at me intently, as if trying to figure something out. I smiled back. Of course, Ayin is willing to be a pawn in your hand, sister. Jiang Jin smiled with satisfaction. You understand, I don't want my future child to be born with someone else above them. My child must be the legitimate eldest son. You are right, sister. I lowered my gaze. When it comes to using others to do her dirty work, Jiang Jin has always been a master. Even if things are investigated later, she can still pin the blame on me, but I am determined to go along with her wishes. The wedding proceeded as scheduled, and I entered the Marquis' residence with Jiang Jin as part of her dowry entourage. If there was any difference between me and the other maids, it was probably that I had a secluded little courtyard and the official title of a favored concubine. Unlike before, Li Qingge was brought to the estate early. On the wedding night, a furious Jiang Jin smashed the new porcelain. Yet the next morning, she endured the servants' whispers while paying respects to the Marquis and his wife. Zhou Rong, confident she wouldn't resist, stayed in Li Qingge's courtyard. Jiang Jin was about to lose her mind. Sister, you don't need to worry. That Li Qingge is only flaunting herself because she's pregnant. If you could get pregnant too, she wouldn't have the upper hand. And as for her, she could lose it. I gently tried to comfort her. But Jiang Jin suddenly shoved me away. It's easy for you to say. Did you do what I asked you to? That Li Qingge, she's still alive and kicking. The heir hasn't even set foot in my room. How could I possibly get pregnant? Sister, the heir has stationed people outside Li Qingge's quarters to keep watch. I really have no way to act. Smack! Jiang Jin slapped me hard across the face. Useless. I fell to the ground with the momentum, and a folk remedy slipped out from my sleeve. What's this? Jiang Jin was even quicker than me and snatched up the prescription. I anxiously tried to grab it back, but he kicked me aside. Sister, this remedy may help with conception, but it's harmful to the body. Jiang Jin hesitated a little, but Chu Huan snapped. If it's really harmful, why are you secretly hiding it? Just throw it away. I stammered, unable to answer. Chu Huan pressed on relentlessly. I think you just want to keep it for yourself. Besides, Miss has plenty of doctors around her. Even if something goes wrong, it won't be a big deal. But you're hiding it from Miss. Could it be you want to use a child to elevate your own status? With that, Jiang Jin glared at me suspiciously. I swear to the heavens, sister, Ying Ying just feels sorry that you have to suffer. Besides, my life depends entirely on you, sister. How could I dare dream of rising in status through a child? If anything, it should be the younger sister who benefits from the elder sister. Jiang Jin's expression softened, and she glanced at me lightly. All right, I'll believe you this time. Thank you, sister. I grinned. As it happened, not long after Jiang Jin started taking her medicine, Li Qingge and Zhou Rong had a huge argument, which made Jiang Jin extremely happy. When she found out it was my doing, she even rewarded me with 10 tiles of silver. The next day I took those 10 tiles of silver, bought a lot of candied fruit, and secretly went to see Li Qingge. Jiang Jin probably didn't know that, ever since I first met Li Qingge, I had always kept in touch with her. I had never met a woman like her before. She didn't seek wealth or status, only wanted to experience the world. Even though she knew she could only ever be a concubine, Li Qingge didn't mind at all, and had not a trace of greed. Even after learning that Jiang Jin planned to harm her, she wasn't the least bit flustered. When I asked her what she would do if the heir stopped loving her, Li Qingge laughed heartily and said, "No matter where I live, I'm still living. Why should I have to rely on a man? Besides, it's Zhou Rong who can't live without me, not the other way around. He keeps me trapped here, yet doesn't have the courage to stand up to his family. Why should I like such a coward? If that day ever comes, I'll definitely leave without looking back." I just felt that such an extraordinary person was truly stunning, and I suddenly understood. No wonder she was able to trample Jiang Jin underfoot in her previous life. I couldn't bear to harm her, nor did I expect her to form an alliance with me. But when she saw me trembling all over as I was harassed by a ruffian while she was sending me off, she changed her mind. She said, "I must have suffered great torment. Please help me." And from then on, every step we took was planned together. Jiang Jin had always presented herself as dignified and gracious, and would never do anything so ingratiating. It was only when Chu Huan and I told her that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that she, embarrassed and annoyed, tried to imitate the tricks of those women in the brothels. Earlier, I asked Li Qingge, if Zhou Rong really did spend the night in Jiang Jin's room, wouldn't she feel disheartened? I only remember Li Qingge giving a cold laugh at the time, believing a man's sweet talk will bring you nothing but trouble for the rest of your life. But now, watching Jiang Jin, in order to win favor, endure her shame and imitate the very tricks of the brothel women she despises most, I can't help but feel a surge of satisfaction. But that's still not enough. I want to force Jiang Jin step by step into a hopeless situation. Li Qingge's deliberate withdrawal really did make Zhou Rong develop ulterior motives. Coupled with the pillow talk Jiang Jin whispered to the madam of the Marquis's household, Zhou Rong inevitably stepped into the main courtyard. Not long after, relying on that secret recipe, Jiang Jin easily became pregnant. When the news got out, no one was more displeased than Zhou Rong himself. It was said that he sent many lavish gifts to Li Qingge's small courtyard, and was even given a stern talking to by the madam. Jiang Jin seethed with hate. With Li Qingge's pregnancy showing, she had to act fast. Citing pregnancy rest, Jiang Jin brazenly cut off Li Qingge's supplies. The madam of the Marquis found out, but turned a blind eye. Jiang Jin finally acted the part, and to her, this was a victory. Giving in would only invite further contempt. Jiang Jin understood this very well. For the sake of Gu Chong, she even considered risking everything, including herself. Ying Ying, right now your eldest sister can only rely on you. You know this. Your eldest sister can't give birth to this child, but you can. Jiang Jin stroked her belly, looking at me with calculation in her eyes. She was a suspicious person. Before brewing the medicine, she had someone check the prescription. Although it aided fertility, the fetus would not survive past 3 months. Even so, Jiang Jin still drank it, and I was already Zhou Rong's concubine. Both Li Qingge and he were expecting children, so the only one left to serve him was me. Jiang Jin had her people force me to drink bowl after bowl of tonic soup, then gave me a stern warning before sending me to Zhou Rong's bed. I suppose I should be grateful that she still gives me a warning now. In my previous life, she would have just stabbed me without a word. Zhou Rong didn't touch me, which was exactly what Jiang Jin expected. He really does care about that seductive woman. This was actually a test from Jiang Jin. After this incident, it seemed she had figured out Zhou Rong's bottom line when it came to Li Qingge. He knew he could never win Zhou Rong's favor over Li Qingge, but every time he heard the sounds of their lovey-dovey moments coming from her courtyard, he still couldn't help but mind. Jiang Jin wasn't afraid that Zhou Rong didn't love her. Her calculations were very clear. She wanted to be the mistress of the Marquis's household, and she couldn't allow the slightest mistake. But Zhou Rong's favoritism toward Li Qingge, and his concern for the child she was carrying, made Jiang Jin feel threatened. She couldn't kill Li Qingge like she had tormented me in her previous life, but she could make her suffer Zhou Rong's disgust. And the perfect opportunity would be the Marquis's birthday banquet a few days later. As the heir's wife, Jiang Jin would inevitably have to organize the banquet and handle all the hosting duties. For her, it would be easy to pull some tricks in the midst of all this. On the day of the banquet, with everyone watching, Li Qingge suddenly broke out in a rash all over her body and abruptly left the table. Zhou Rong panicked, and disregarding all propriety, rushed after her, picked her up, and shouted for the mansion doctor. Everyone's eyes fell on Jiang Jin and the Marquis' wife. The Marquis's wife looked grim, but when she saw Jiang Jin calmly handling the situation, her expression finally eased. Only Chu Huan and I exchanged a glance, our expressions complicated. Li Qingge's aversion to osmanthus is no secret. I had already warned her about it. Since Jiang Jin dared to pull this stunt at the banquet, she had naturally prepared a backup plan in advance, but no one expected that Li Qingge would still fall for it. That night, I heard the Marquis's wife was furious and scolded Zhou Rong harshly, saying, "You lost all decorum for the sake of a seductive woman." After this, she confined Li Qingge to her courtyard. Since she was pregnant, staying quiet might teach her manners. The Marquis's wife decided this because she lacked evidence for the allergy, looking foolish instead. She never liked Li Qingge, and learning she carried a girl after losing a boy only deepened her dislike. But this time, Li Qingge truly suffered. Even the doctor said there was a risk of miscarriage. Zhou Rong had a big argument with Lady Ho. And of course, the blame was placed on Jiang Jin. But Jiang Jin not only sent all sorts of tonics to Li Qingge, she even went to visit her in person. In the end, it was concluded that perhaps Li Qingge had carelessly sat under the osmanthus tree. When I went to see Li Qingge, her face was covered with countless red rashes, making it hard to look at her directly. When she saw me, Li Qingge let out a laugh. "You were right, that vicious woman really isn't someone to be trifled with." Only then did I realize that Li Qingge had been on guard and hadn't touched anything at the banquet, yet she still fell victim to Jiang Jin's scheme. "Are you feeling all right?" I looked at her with some hesitation. Compared to before, Li Qingge was now extremely weak, as if she didn't have much time left. Li Qingge seemed to know what I was thinking. "I'm actually doing quite well. It's just that Zhou Rong probably only has a bit of guilt left in him." "Is he not doing well anymore?" Seeing Li Qingge nod, I couldn't help but stand up, shocked in my heart. It was all wrong. Everything was wrong. When I got back, I happened to run into Chu Tuan coming out of Jiang Jin's room. "Miss, don't worry. When the time comes, I'll insist that it was the two of them colluding together. It will never involve you." I sneered inwardly. Even after living a second life, I was still too impatient. With just a few words, I ended up trusting others. Because Li Qingge had injuries on her face and was stubborn by nature, just a few words of provocation were enough for Zhou Rong to become estranged from her. Jiang Jin enjoyed watching the other's misfortune and deliberately arranged to run into her. When we arrived, Li Qingge was on the swing, just like in that courtyard back then. Jiang Jin strolled over gracefully, her smile full of hidden meaning. With the way you look now, little sister, if it were me, I wouldn't even have the face to see anyone, let alone have the leisure to swing. Aren't you afraid of falling off? She covered her lips and laughed softly. Li Qingge rolled her eyes at her. Stop with the crocodile tears. Wasn't it your fault? Jiang Jin snorted. So what if I did it? Who would believe you? Is it Z? I am the eldest daughter of the Jiang family. Do you think he will favor me, or a discarded woman who is of no value to him? Li Qingge looked up at Jiang Jin and suddenly smiled. You probably don't know this, but before me, there was another young lady living in that courtyard. On the night of the banquet, Jiang Jin went back and started complaining of stomach pain. The Marquis' residence was brightly lit. Madam Marquis, the bride, she's been poisoned. The matron was furious. Someone take her away. In the end, suspicion fell on Li Qingge. When Li Qingge was brought in, she still looked sickly. Chu Huan and I knelt on the other side, watching as someone beside her found a packet of scented powder. Madam, it was this powder that harmed the young mistress. Mother, Qing would never do something like this. Mother, will my child not survive? The Marchioness looked at the house physician, and as he pleaded for mercy, she slammed her palm down on the table with a loud smack. Tell me, where did this filthy thing come from? Li Qingge spoke bluntly. A few days ago, someone from the young mistress's side stuffed it to me. Chu Huan couldn't wait to step forward. Madam, a few days ago, I saw second miss sneaking out of the courtyard at night. I followed her and saw her handing something to concubine Li. The Marchioness's gaze fell on me. Unhurriedly, I handed over a piece of paper. Madam, I am the young mistress's younger sister. Why would I ever harm her? Besides, everyone knows I'm afraid of the dark and never go out at night. After I finished speaking, I changed the subject. Concubine Li never said who it was, yet she rushed to accuse me. Clearly, she has a guilty conscience. I've always been invisible in this household. The Marchioness's suspicious gaze passed over me and landed on Chu Huan, making her tremble with fear. Li Qingge, tell me, who exactly is that person? Li Qingge hesitated to speak, her gaze falling on Chu Huan. Jiang Jin was just about to say something when her expression suddenly changed. My stomach, it hurt so much. Her face turned deathly pale. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead, and the next second she fainted from the pain. My gaze lightly swept over the incense that Chu Huan was usually in charge of, and I smiled. If you ask what I saw most often in the brothel in my previous life, aside from those seductive tricks, it would be the methods for inducing miscarriages. The people in the room panicked, and Madame Hu had no choice but to have Chu Huan restrained. After a moment of contemplation as she looked at me, she instructed me to take care of Jiang Jin. As for Li Qingge, after Zhou Rong repeatedly assured them, she was taken back to her own small courtyard. That night, I went to see Chu Huan. When she saw me, she sprang up from the ground. When did you find out? I looked at her and smiled. Since I was able to find out where Li Qingge was staying, do you really think I couldn't find this out? Your relationship with your sister is actually terrible. She was clearly married off to the stableman on purpose by you. Chu Huan was stunned for a moment, then let out a mocking laugh. I thought you were that stupid. Turns out I underestimated you. She looked at me deeply. Do you realize? If it weren't for you, the one who should have married into the Marquis's household with Jiang Jin would have been me. Just because you are the second young lady of the Jiang family and I am only...
You're just a servant, destined to be trampled underfoot for your whole life. Why should it be like this?
Even after serving him loyally for so long, your anger is still tightly controlled by Jiang Jin. I couldn't help but mock. Since you know him so well and have worked so hard for him, you must also realize you won't live much longer. If you can't even handle this simple task, how do you think Jiang Jin will torment you? Why don't we make a bet? In the moonlight, I looked into Chu Huan's eyes, uneasily closed my own for a moment, and finally nodded. When I returned to my own small courtyard, I nodded familiarly at a few of the people around Jiang Jin. Jiang Jin has always been arrogant, looking down on everyone who serves him, so he forgot that sometimes money and power aren't everything. Aunt Wang from the small kitchen had her leg broken in secret by his orders, just because she served the wrong snack. But he forgot that the coachman who drives for him is Aunt Wang's husband. A guard on duty for Jiang Jin was beaten half to death and thrown out of the residence just for glancing at him a couple of extra times. That guard had a sick sister, and penniless, she passed away soon after. If I recall, the courtyard maid who liked him was nearly engaged to him. Jiang Jin's actions will only bring retribution upon himself. By the time Chu Chuan was released, 3 days had already passed. Jiang Jin had lost his child, while Li Qingge remained completely unharmed. When Chu Huan stepped forward to serve Jiang Jin in my place, she was unsurprisingly slapped twice by him.
Why did the medicine only work on me?
Why is the bastard in Qingge's belly still perfectly fine?
Having suffered so much for nothing, Jiang Jin naturally refused to let the matter rest. Chu Quan covered her face and cried, saying she didn't know, but Jiang Jin still mercilessly ordered someone to drag her away. When she saw me, Chu Quan reached out her hand, begging me to save her. I glanced at her, then took the medicine inside. Seeing Jiang Jin test it, I laughed. As I took her empty bowl, Jiang Jin suddenly spoke. I didn't expect you to be so obedient. Suppressing my trembling hands, I smiled. Jiang Jin, I'm a member of the Jiang family. We rise and fall together. She seemed to believe me, speaking to me more often after that. I didn't see Chu Huan again for a long time. When I found her, she was squatting on the ground, fighting with a vicious dog over food. Chu Quan was hidden in the Marquis' side courtyard, unknown to anyone. Knowing from my past life of a death there, I went to investigate. Agitated, Chu Quan begged me to save her. I stared at her. She paused, then gritted her teeth. I understand. I'll make Jiang Jin utterly disgraced. That very afternoon, Chu Guan rushed all the way to the main courtyard and threw herself in front of the Marquis's wife. She had followed Jiang Jin for many years and was well aware of her viciousness, knowing many of her secrets. As it happened, that day the Marquis's wife was hosting a tea party for the ladies of various families, with Li Qingge attending to her side. In front of everyone, Chu Tuan tore off all pretenses and exposed Jiang Jin's vicious nature. By the time Jiang Jin arrived, it was already too late.
Shut up! Shut up!
This is our old son.
Seeing the looks from everyone, especially Li Qingge's provocation, Jiang Jin couldn't care about appearances anymore and rushed forward to cover Chu Guan's mouth. The room instantly descended into utter chaos. Jiang Jin was ruthless. With a hard shove, Chu Tuan crashed straight into Li Qingge's stomach, causing Li Qingge to bleed on the spot. Everyone couldn't help but scream. But then, out of nowhere, Jiang Jin pulled out a sharp blade and right in front of everyone, stabbed Chu Tuan to death. Madame Hu, her face ashen, asked the guests to leave. Seeing Li Qingge collapsed on the ground, she said, "What are you standing there for? Call the doctor." Hearing of Li Qingge's premature labor, a furious Zhou Rong slapped and locked up Jiang Jin. Already weak from her miscarriage, the confinement caused Jiang Jin to collapse. Hearing Li Qingge had a son, she smashed her bowl. I shook my head at the mess. What a pity, but I comforted Jiang Jin. "Sister, don't worry, she's just a concubine. A concubine's son can't surpass you. Besides, isn't her child still able to be registered under your name? You want to separate mother and child?" Jiang Jin took it to heart, but she didn't know that the family doctor who came to check her pulse that day had already quietly told the Marchioness that she would never be able to conceive again. So when she went to take the child, the Marchioness pondered for a while and finally agreed. "He is, after all, the eldest grandson of our Marquis household. You must take good care of him." The Marchioness fixed her blazing gaze on Jiang Jin, as if issuing a warning. After returning, Jiang Jin flew into a rage. "It's just a bastard child. Why should I? I am the legitimate eldest daughter of the Jiang family." Although the child was said to be registered under Jiang Jin's name, it was still Li Qingge who took care of him. When Jiang Jin realized this, she was furious, and upon learning that she was completely infertile, she nearly lost her mind. That night, a fire broke out in Li Qingge's courtyard, and some servants claimed to have seen the crown princess there. The Marchioness wept and wailed, while Zhou Rong was so distraught, he nearly rushed into the flames. When I knelt before them holding the child, both of them were stunned.
Madam!
"Young lord?" At the time, I didn't recognize my sister. These past days, she kept talking about the child, saying only her own flesh and blood could survive.
At first I didn't pay much attention until I noticed she often snuck out.
Tonight, I secretly followed her and saw her set fire to Lady Li Yi's room. I only had time to save the young master, but Lady Li Yi, she didn't make it. Zhou Rong gritted her teeth in hatred. "Where is Jiang Jin?"